let's talk about the bear. So the bear is a 65% ergonomic Alice-style keyboard designed by Jacky. It features a gasket mount, a key in the top right corner as the perfect artisan accent key, an arrow cluster which makes it a little different from the original Alice design, a bear logo on the front of the case, and a ridiculously adorable bear paw logo weight design. This group buy actually already ran on July 15th to about the 17th of 2020, so this year, and it's planned to be fulfilled in about 4 to 5 months, so Jacky is planning on shipping these completed units out in the beginning of 2021. So the things that are included in the box are some gaskets, and by some I mean a metric ton of gaskets, which at first I was like, why? But it turned out to be a good thing because the sticky part at the bottom, at least of the pour-on, the 3mm pour-on gaskets that I used, it had separated from the rest of the foam. So it's actually really difficult to get a piece of gasket. If you want to watch me struggle, you should go watch my build stream. So I believe the gasket choices you receive are 2mm pour-on, 3mm pour-on, and silicone. There's also a pair of custom injection molded silicone feet. In another baggie are some extra screws for the weight and the case. I believe the ones for the case are gold and the ones for the weight are black. Next is the PCB. While this one is green, I believe it's a prototype PCB and the final will be black with gold trace. So the layouts that are supported by this PCB are an arrow cluster, stepped caps, and split backspace. Although there's also a hot swap PCB variant, and that one does not support split backspace. I'm pretty sure it's due to the fact that the Kale sockets would be a little too cluttered together for hot swap. Some other features of this PCB are that it supports QMK and VIA programming. It has a Type-C port, which is always a win in my book, and it also actually has a few LEDs on the bottom for underglow. I originally thought that the underglow would be a little useless because you usually can't see it in cases without cutouts, but with the PC plate, and the glow actually comes through pretty nicely if you're into that kind of thing. Next up is the plate. The plate that Jacky provided me is a polycarbonate plate. The plate materials that were offered in this group buy were polycarbonate, brass, and aluminum. The colors for the materials, there was a clear polycarbonate option, which is the one shown here, E-white, anodized black, and anodized silver for the aluminum option, and E-clear, E-white, and E-black options for the brass plate. The plate obviously also supports the same layouts that the PCB does, so it has the arrow cluster, stepped caps, and split backspace support. And this is the bear. There were also 3 material options for the bear: PC, aluminum, and brass. The brass option was actually a founder's edition and it was available for $680, and there were only 10 spots available. The regular edition includes the polycarb and aluminum, and those were available for $380. So obviously this is not including any extra plates, PCBs, weights that you may add to your order, and this also does not include PayPal fees, I don't think, and it does not include shipping. I believe for the polycarbonate option, the case is also the typical frosted/clear polycarb. For the brass option, I believe it was the same as the plates, where they were able to choose from E-clear, E-white, or E-black coating. And for the aluminum case, there were actually quite a few options: E-white, baby blue Cerakote, pink Cerakote, anodized black, and anodized silver. The blue and pink coating is actually a new type of coating that's meant to feel like skin. I know that Fox Labs is also testing this kind of material, and I built a Key 65 with this coating, and it's actually very soft. It's a very interesting texture. I think the reason that some vendors are looking into this coating is that it's a lot easier to achieve color consistency between the top and bottom case, as well as being a unique finish. You also have the option to choose whether or not you want the bear logo on the top case. Finally, the adorable, adorable bear claw weight. It came in brass and aluminum. I believe the brass option was only offered in E clear coating, while the aluminum option was offered in E white, E yellow, and anodized black. So this color that was included in this proto is not actually a color that is available during production. As for what I thought about this board, I'll start with the cons first. I think the bear logo is in a weird position. It takes up too much vertical space in a place that has more horizontal space, so I don't really like that the engraving is so close to the keys or so close to the bottom edge of the case. I actually wish that the logo was placed underneath the top right accent key, or maybe a different logo was considered, like a bear sleeping or lying down. I think that would have been pretty cute too. I wish that there were alignment pegs. I honestly hate screwing together cases and trying to figure out, oh, did I align it correctly? And I have to like feel up the side of the case and test if the edges are aligned. It was actually pretty difficult to align the top and bottom case. It came to me a little lopsided, and I put it together and it is still a little lopsided. So I just think that well-designed alignment pegs makes aligning the top and bottom case a lot easier, especially for keyboards with side seams such as this one. It's just a lot more pleasant when you can run your hand down the side of the case and not feel the seam between the top and the bottom. The corner switches are actually pretty wobbly when you type on them. I noticed that when I was pressing on the escape key or the accent key on the right, it would cause vibrations to go all throughout the plate. It would actually cause the plate and PCB to wobble a lot. So I'm obviously not a keyboard designer or mechanical engineer. So I think that if an extra tab was added along this side of the keyboard, it might have provided a little... I'm sorry. It might have provided a little more stability. That's just a speculation. One thing that's just a nitpick is that the screws for the case were really tight from the factory, and I actually had some trouble removing them with my WOW stick and had to go for a manual screwdriver, which is not really a big problem, but it was very tight. And if it's in that tightly, I have some concerns about the screws possibly being stripped, which thankfully in this case they weren't, but yeah. On to the pros. So I actually really enjoy the aesthetics of the top right accent key. I am an avid artisan lover, so I love having somewhere that I can just dump a random artisan key, and it's perfect for showing something off. I like the arrow clusters in the layout. I find them to be really handy, and that might be me just being lazy, but I do think that the arrow cluster with the accent key looks better in person than in renders. The finish on this case is actually very nice. I took a really close look, and overall it was done very well and consistently. I think the only thing that I noticed is that there were some scuffs in the holes where the screws are supposed to align. The USB-C hole is fitted, and I always appreciate a tight hole. Overall, I love the design of the case. I love chunky, rounded cases, so this is definitely a design that's up my alley. It has nice thick bezels, it has nice rounded corners, a very nice chamfer detail around the edges, and overall it's like a cozy, chunky board. The board is actually quite heavy. It's a lot heavier than I thought it would be. Because I believe all the parts that were sent to me are aluminum, I expected it to be a little lighter like the Time 180, but it actually has quite a bit of heft to it. And I always appreciate thick boards. And something that was really important to me is that the board sounds pretty good. I wouldn't say amazing because I did try it with stock alpacas, but when I did the sound test on stream, I was a little blown away about how good it sounded with not only stock alpacas, but a polycarbonate plate. I'm actually not a huge fan of polycarbonate. I don't really like how it feels or sounds all that much, but this board sounded pretty good. I had considered switching out the alpacas, but I honestly just wanted to share a sound test of the keyboard with stock alpacas just to show how good it sounds out of the box. And I know that some people just don't have the time, effort, or resources to modify their switches like us crazy key weebs. So if you don't really want to do a lot of work on your switches, this keyboard is probably right up your alley. At first, I wasn't exactly sure why Jacky chose this combination of parts to send me, but I think after seeing the breakdown of the most popular parts, the E-white aluminum case was the most sold option and the polycarbonate plate was the most sold option, so it really makes sense for him to showcase his keyboard to the majority of his customers, and I think the majority of his customers will be really happy with what they're receiving, especially for the price. I built this board live on stream, so if that's something that you're interested in, or if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, I stream every Monday and Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings at twitch.tv/Minterly. Also, obviously, feel free to come ask any questions in my Discord. We are pretty friendly in there. We are also degens. But yeah, overall, I'm actually very impressed with this board, and I'm pretty sad to be sending it back to Jacky. I hope that everyone who bought it on the bear will be really excited to receive their board now. If I were you, I would be. And for those of you who missed out on the group buy, let us pray for round 2. Anyways, that's all I had for now. As always, take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.